Alright, let's finish up the Critters franchise for Franchise Friday with Critters Attack. This is going to be a short one because I don't have much time, because I don't know. So this movie is very confusing to me because it ignores everything previously. There's no lore in this movie. That's why I've heard some people call it a reboot, but according to everything else I've read, it's a sequel set after 3 but before 4, because 4 takes place in the future. And that Dee Wallace is actually playing her character from the first film, but she can't be called that character because of copyright. And I guess that's why it feels like a reboot, because they can't use anything really other than a few shots. You got the critter ball and stuff like that. And this is the first one to be rated R, actually. So that's different. Doesn't make much. There's no swearing. There's gore. I think it's decent. But the story is centered around this college student who has to babysit some teenagers who are old enough to be left alone because they're like 14 years old. Like, the oldest one is 14 years old. My sister was babysitting at 14. I don't know. I think she's 14. I don't know. And the critters land, and there are some things in this film that could have worked. Bring back Dee Wallace. Could have worked. They don't use her enough. Once the Krites land, she takes off. We don't see her until the climax. And then, she takes off to do something. We don't see her until the climax. They introduce a female, the one and only female, they call her the Queen, Krite, who's good in trying to stop the male Krites from taking over Earth. They don't utilize it well enough. She's in a bag through almost most of the film. And then once she lets out everything, she kills the shit out of these things. And then, Dee Wallace shows up and says, "You're here to stop the male Krites." And he's like, "What? Watch my back." And we don't see this critter again. And the whole first half of this film is very slow for me. I just was waiting for it to pick up. Whenever they showed the critters, I was like, yeah, okay, more carnage. And I don't know, some people, Mr. Hat said that he didn't think there was enough carnage. I thought it was alright. The carnage candy, the blood, the gore, I thought it was good. I thought it was alright. I even thought the creature effects were pretty good compared to what I saw in Critters: A New Binge. I didn't see the show, but I saw the trailer for that, and it looked horrendous. They create a new weakness for the critters, which is high-pitched sound, which has never been a weakness, which is another thing you could add in the column of, oh, it's a reboot. But I don't want to see it that way. I want a sequel. I don't want a reboot, right? It's called Critters Attack. It was marketed as a sequel, but here's the thing. I think the reason why they call it a sequel and not a reboot is because it's supposed to be a sequel, but they don't have the rights. But it's Warner Brothers, right? I guess Shout Factory would have the rights now, but I don't know. And the critters are kind of big, some of them are big. They mock Alien by having them pop out of some dude's chest. There's some comedy that doesn't really land. There's a character that is their uncle, but he's white. Maybe he's uncle, he's their uncle because he's taking care of them. I don't know. There's some backstory with the girl, how she didn't get into her college and her mom died in some accident, and you don't care because you just want to see the critters. And that's really all it is with the critters. They're just killing people. There's no story really. There's a human story, and then the critters are just killing people, and then Dee Wallace shows up at the end to help beat them. There's really no real story. There's a scene that made me roll my eyes, man, because I saw it coming. So they're looking for this guy that gave our main girl, Drea, a bagpipe mixtape. Because mixtapes are relevant in 2019, but I don't know. He gives her one. And then later, when they're trying to find him, once the critters are broken out, they need him to get the keys to get into an office. And when we get to the office, we'll talk about it. Because trying to find him, and then I hear his bagpipes going off. And I went, it's a critter. Sure enough, the critter is chewing the guy's body, and the guy's holding the bagpipes. He's making the bagpipes blow the music. And they tip you off that it's not him. Because as they get closer, she says, well, that's the best he's ever played. Right away you go, oh, because it's not him. If you want to do a reveal that it's not somebody, one, don't make it so obvious to begin with. And two, don't add that line. Oh, he played better than he has before. And then we get to this, so they have to go through this classroom. Like, okay, so they get to this room, and it's the kids, she's babysitting their mother's office. And she disappears. Is she dead? I don't remember seeing her die, but I didn't pay attention. I was on the phone for a little bit. But, they go through, and they get to this thing, and it's a keypad, and the girl goes, like, what kind of code? What code would your mom use? And the girl goes, I'll try my birthday. She presses one button like 5 times, and it worked. And she's like, what worked? I'm like, she's like, I'll do my birthday. And she goes, beep, 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 beep. Ding. She presses one button 5 times. Her birthday is simultaneously 5 of the same number. That's impossible. And then they go in, and they're like, okay, all we have to do is get from here to the other side. My mom's office is there. So they go as slow as fucking hell, even knowing that there's these creatures following them. But they're tiptoeing. And then they see a critter eating someone, probably their mom, who knows, and they decide to run back. What was the point of going in there? Then, and they leave. Before they get in here, they try to convince this girl's friend, who's not really a friend, but is a friend, and then some dude. They're trying to convince them that there's monsters. They don't believe them, and they just sort of argue. How about you show them the critter that's in your bag? How about that? They just argue over the monster thing. We don't believe in monsters, and well, there's one in the bag. Show them the fucking one in the bag. But they don't. And so this dude takes off his shirt and goes out. He gets eaten by the critter ball. We don't see it. Even though there's been other gore in this film, we don't see it. I'm not used to rated R. We're going to see this real gore. They showed it in the PG-13 version. In Critters 2, they showed it. PG-13. And we couldn't show it here. There's also tits in that movie, but I digress. So eventually the girl believes them because she sees the critters. Also, since when can critters chew through metal? Was that a thing before? I don't remember it. If I didn't pay attention, I don't know. But eventually this all leads them to the football field, and they're all killing krites and everything. And, like, there's one left at this point, and it shoots the barbs out, and it gets her brother in the neck and her in the arm. And she's like, I'm fine. And she takes out and she stabs it in the eye. And then Dee Wallace comes and blows the fuck out of it. And her brother keeps the spine, or whatever you call it, sticking out of his neck for the rest of the movie. It's like 10 minutes left in the movie, but still, he's just sitting there. She's like, does it hurt? And he's like, no. And she wiggles it, and he goes, ah, okay, that hurts. I'm like, take it out. Why are you sitting there with it sticking out of your neck? Is that supposed to be funny? It's not funny. It looks stupid. Dee Wallace shows up, and she gives the Drea a rifle gun thing. She goes, I'm a bounty hunter. I'm going with this as a sequel, and that after Charlie's disappearance, Ugg showed up and deputized her in the case of other krites. Because maybe he was wrong about them being the last 2 krites, and then there could be more. But by the time they get to 2045, they are the last 2 krites. That's why they were floating in space for all those years and didn't care, because there was still some on Earth. But, don't even go with that. And then she goes, kill krites, which is a nod to Lee from the second film. Blows up the ball. Movie ends. Credits. Yep. If it's one thing I love, it's the movie just ends without a wraparound scene. We don't get no you know, any kind of scene showing what happened to our heroes. Nope. Kill Christ. That's it. I still think 3 is worse, but this isn't much of a step up. I'm gonna have to give this a 5. I'll give it a 5. It's, I wasn't expecting much for this to begin with, so there's that, but it's not something I'd want to revisit anytime soon. Watch the first 2. And 4. I kind of like 4. So that's it for the Critters franchise for Franchise Fridays, but we will be going to a smaller franchise, 3 movies. Don't you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's right. We're going to go into the Rush Hour franchise next. So look forward to that. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. Look forward to my ranking. Excuse me.